It's happening! Octopuses are now coming together and forming their own civilization. If there's ever an apocalypse and we are completely annihilated, the most likely creature to take over the Earth could be the octopus. It's crazy, but it's true. I mean, they are pretty much aliens anyway. In honor of Octopus Month, let's take a look at this latest discovery and learn more about what is going on with this incredible creature. Welcome to the Octopus City. Scientists have found a bizarre, non-human settlement that has completely changed the way we think about the octopus. For decades, the scientific consensus on octopuses was pretty straightforward. They were solitary creatures who only met up for awkward one-night stands and then swam off in opposite directions, and then they died alone. Sounds pretty bleak. But it turns out octopuses have been coming together and building entire communities. The myth of Atlantis has been reborn, and the real underwater metropolis is crawling with moody, highly intelligent octopuses who may or may not be plotting something. Researchers made this strange discovery off the eastern coast of Australia in Jervis Bay. Here, scientists stumbled upon what can only be described as an octopus village. In 2009, they found 15 Octopus tetrachus, aka gloomy octopuses, living, bickering, hunting, mating, and fighting over property like aquatic New Yorkers with too many roommates. For a species once believed to be antisocial loners, this is like discovering that monks have been throwing raves in their cloisters. This was the first known octopus commune, like the octopus version of Ur, the first city of Mesopotamia, or the cephalopods Jericho. Every civilization has its first city, and this is the first one for gloomy octopuses, which, by the way, aren't actually gloomy, it's just their name. We can also call them the common city octopus. If octopuses can build one city, you know they can build more. In 2016, researchers found another underwater site, and you know they will only get bigger and better as time goes on. To be fair, I'm using the term city pretty loosely. It's more a bunch of dens and burrows where multiple octopuses live together. But hey, that's how all civilizations started, right? We might be seeing the first signs. The first cities built by humans were kind of terrible. First, we had caves, then huts, mud houses, and then sticks and grass for roofs. But over thousands of years, our cities improved. Could the same thing happen under the sea? In 1,000 years, will octopus start building pyramids and ziggurats and worshipping weird tentacled gods? Cthulhu, is that you? So what do researchers say about all of this? Basically, things are getting interesting. This discovery of an actual community of octopuses and then another one means that something is happening, and octopuses have very complex social behaviors that we can't even begin to understand. But we're trying. Over just 8 days of observation, researchers documented an entire octopus soap opera. They saw octopuses building dens out of shell debris, partying like they were at Burning Man, fighting for territory, and even evicting their neighbors. Colors were changing all over the place, and they were even throwing things at each other. These octopus cities aren't exactly utopias, although I guess it depends on your definition. Atlantis is crowded, noisy, slightly hostile, and full of questionable tenants. In fact, it seems like any densely packed urban sprawl. The cramped quarters might be to blame, but why do they choose to live like this? Don't they have the whole ocean? The thing is, this area has tons of food. While octopuses typically prefer the lone wolf lifestyle, they all want to be where the food is. So there are a lot of clams and shells here, but there isn't a lot of shelter. This environment is forcing them into communal living situations where they have to tolerate their neighbors if they want to enjoy the bounty. While it may not be their preferred living situation, it could give rise to a real octopus civilization. Being together in close quarters could force them to form groups, work together, and develop even greater intelligence. Think of the benefits. Safety in numbers, shared childcare, communal Netflix accounts. These are the same sorts of benefits that convinced early humans to stick together and build their first communities. This is kind of the human playbook, but for octopuses. The smartest squish in the sea. Here's what scientists know about octopus intelligence. They are brilliant. They can use tools, communicate, and build things. They solve puzzles, learn from observation, camouflage themselves with the precision of a military-grade cloaking device, and in some cases display something eerily close to personality. But it shouldn't be a surprise. Anyone who has ever had pets knows that animals have personalities. We know our cats and dogs do, so why not the octopus? Most scientists agree that they are way more intelligent than dogs. And what happens when you stick a bunch of intelligent creatures with different personalities into close quarters? You get high school. Well, actually, they start stabbing each other with their beaks, stealing each other's homes, and all kinds of other shenanigans. Over the last decade, scientists have observed more and more fascinating and unusual behaviors when they interact with each other. And with humans. Apparently, the octopuses are always curious when the researchers come around and like to reach out their tentacles. What are they trying to say? Why build a city? Octopuses don't need each other for survival. They're capable hunters, masters of stealth, and notoriously resourceful. So why would they voluntarily cram themselves into a shared space? If you think about it, why did we back in the day? The reasons are probably the same. One theory is defensive cooperation. Maybe these tentacled brainiacs are figuring out that there is strength in numbers, especially when predators lurk nearby. Another possibility is that they are forced into the arrangement by their environment. But one thing is becoming certain: Atlantis isn't a fluke. These octopuses are taking all of the shells and stuff that we drop in the ocean and using it to help reinforce their dens and create strong tunnels. Over generations, these dens will get better and stronger. Keep in mind that many octopus species only live for a year or two. This means that knowledge has to be constantly transferred between generations, over and over, just to keep their community going. Whether it's a one-off survival strategy or the beginning of an octopus societal boom, we are looking at something that no one predicted. Octopuses are aliens. Apparently, octopuses are aliens. Scientists recently cracked open the genetic code of an octopus, and what spilled out wasn't so much a map of Earth life as it was a warning label from another planet. Their genetic makeup is so different from anything else on Earth, it is out of this world. The Octopus Genome Project has revealed that the humble, squishy, suckered cephalopod is genetically bananas. How bananas? Try 33,000 genes. That's about 10,000 more genes than humans, which, should we be worried? The researchers from the University of Chicago and Japan's Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology chose the California two-spot octopus as their lab buddy. Hold on to your hats, because what they found is nothing short of amazing. The results of their study, published in the journal Nature, suggest aliens have been on this planet for a long time. And those aliens have 8 legs and a beak. Octopuses have a closed circulatory system like ours, massive brains, and eyes that rival our own, complete with iris, lens, retina, and depth perception sharp enough to judge how far you are from its dinner plate. And yet, evolutionarily speaking, is that a word? They're about as related to us as a houseplant is to a raccoon. All the same, they have neural genes similar to ours, but arranged in a way that suggests Mother Nature got bored and started using cheat codes, or in a way that suggests they developed their genes on an entirely different planet. One of the big questions that scientists wanted to answer when they started their study was how octopuses managed to vanish into their surroundings at will. How is their camouflage so good? Their skin can change color, texture, and brightness in milliseconds, something that humans definitely can't do. One second they're a blob, and the next they're a rock, or a piece of coral, or an entirely different animal, blending seamlessly with their environment. By studying the octopus genome and decoding the magic behind their camouflage, scientists can use that for us. It's potentially revolutionary for fields like materials science, fashion, and military stealth tech. But here's the part that really launches our 8-legged pal into alien territory. Octopuses can edit their own RNA. Gene editing on command. What is RNA? RNA is ribonucleic acid. Its function is to carry genetic information necessary for cellular processes. It's also for carrying genetic information from your DNA to where the proteins are built. RNA is hugely important in the development of life, and the octopus can edit theirs on a whim, which is like your body rewriting your software while it's still running. They tweak their neural instructions to adapt in real time. For example, let's say the temperature dramatically changes in the ocean where some octopus live. Instead of freezing to death or boiling, they change their RNA to make their bodies more resilient to the extreme temperature. This is evolution in a heartbeat. Should that even be possible? Doesn't it sound like something an alien would do? And while I'm on the topic of alien things, I feel like I should mention brains. Most animals on Earth have one brain. Sure, a few animals have one or two extra, but the octopus takes brains to the next level. How many brains does an octopus have? It's 9. The answer is 9 brains. The octopus has a central brain in its head, which happens to be shaped like a donut, and then it has 8 small independent mini brains known as ganglia in each of its arms. Basically, each octopus arm is one brain. This is how it can control each arm separately. The only animal that can compete is the leech, with 32 mini brains. Both are wet and a bit slimy, so maybe there's something to this mystery. Along with having too many brains for comfort, the octopus has way too many taste buds. All those suckers on an octopus's tentacles can taste things. That's like reaching into the fridge and tasting the apple you're holding, or knowing just by touch that the milk has gone bad. Add in their decentralized nervous system, and you've got an animal where every limb is a freelance thinker with a snack addiction. Each arm has a brain and taste buds. But does this mean the octopus truly is an alien, some intergalactic refugee dropped off on a rogue asteroid, or is it just a weird animal that evolved really strange traits? Right now, scientists are only at the beginning of understanding what the octopus genome has to offer. It's like a treasure map, but instead of leading to gold, it's leading to the mechanics of biological camouflage, radical neural plasticity, and evolutionary improv on a level that nobody has ever seen before. So when people say octopuses are aliens, they're not entirely joking. They may not have arrived in a spaceship, as far as anyone knows, but their biology reads like it was scribbled by an alien intern on their first day in the Galactic Life Lab. The only question left to ask now is, would an alien look like an octopus? The line between reality and sci-fi is getting blurry. If octopuses are the closest thing to aliens on this planet, does that mean that intelligent life on other planets might live in the sea? Are there cephalopods in flight suits and octopuses in blinking UFOs? Let me know what you think in the comments, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Do octopuses dream? Scientists don't know for sure, but there is some incredible evidence that suggests that octopuses do dream, or at least experience a sleep state very similar to dreaming. It all comes down to their 2 distinct phases of sleep, which are surprisingly similar to ours. When an octopus is in a quiet sleep phase, it's pale and still. But then a short period of active sleep kicks in, and the animal's body language changes dramatically. Its arms and eyes twitch, its breathing quickens, and its skin begins to flash with vibrant, rapidly changing patterns. These flashes of color are key. Scientists have recorded the skin patterns of awake octopuses as they hunt or camouflage themselves. They found that these same exact patterns, same colors, textures, and displays reappear in random, rapid succession when the animal is in its active sleep state. This has led researchers to believe that the octopus is reliving its waking experiences, replaying them in its mind. In a way, you could say the octopus's skin acts as a visual readout of its dreams. Since the skin patterns are directly controlled by its brain, these flashes of color are like a window into its sleeping mind. It's a bizarre and fascinating idea. If this theory is correct, it would be another sign of how complex and intelligent these creatures are, and that even though they are so different from us, there are some remarkable similarities. Now I want to tell you about a celebrity octopus, but first I want to give a shout out and big thank you to Mel402 and Lee Paxton for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe or hit that join button to become a member. Ghost the Octopus. This is a story about an octopus named Ghost. Ghost is a giant Pacific octopus at the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. She is a creature of incredible size and even more incredible intelligence. The sad thing is that she's dying, and by the time this video is published, she most likely won't be here anymore. A few weeks ago, Ghost laid her eggs, and when a female octopus does this, she enters the final, tragic phase of her life. She completely stops eating, her body begins to fail, and she pours every last bit of her energy into a single final mission: protecting her eggs. She will spend her last days aerating them with a gentle current of water, keeping them clean, and guarding them from any possible threat. As soon as she laid her eggs, the aquarium received tons of messages of love and support for the mother octopus. Ghost was active, curious, and formed close bonds with her human caretakers. She would even push away her food just to get a little more attention from her friends. They would give her puzzles and toys with food inside multiple times a day to keep her busy. One time, the team said they spent hours building this crazy acrylic maze, and she mastered it almost instantly. She was trained to crawl into a basket so the aquarium staff could measure and weigh her, and she was a huge part of educating the public about these animals. The sad thing about octopuses is that they don't live very long. The average lifespan for the giant Pacific octopus is just 3 to 5 years, but most species don't live longer than a year. Ghost was a celebrity, a beloved creature with an army of fans, some of whom even got tattoos of her. But her story, like so many stories in the natural world, has a dark and beautiful ending. Jay McMahon said that meeting Ghost inspired him to become a marine biologist. And he said, when you make a connection with an animal like that and you know they don't live for that long, every moment means a lot. May we all be so lucky to meet an octopus. Octopus Consciousness. Somewhere in a lab, a disgruntled octopus is squirting jets of water at a flickering overhead light until it short circuits and goes dark. This is a little unsettling, not because the octopus is being mischievous, but because it proves they aren't just smart. They have a consciousness similar to our own. According to philosopher and scientist Peter Godfrey Smith, octopuses are Earth's best approximation of actual aliens. Not because they came here on a spaceship, but because they are a perfect example of convergent evolution. Two entirely different species developing similar characteristics completely independently. In this case, intelligence. Humans and octopuses are both intelligent, but our brains took two different evolutionary pathways, arriving at the same unique level of consciousness. What separates us from animals? One of the biggest distinctions is consciousness. Humans have the ability of introspection. We think and reason and contemplate our own actions, and octopuses might do the same thing. To truly appreciate how profound this is, let's talk ancestry. How close do you think our two species are on the animal family tree? The short answer is not very close at all. Octopuses and humans last shared a common ancestor way, way far back, but no one knows when. Scientists suspect our last common ancestor was some sort of leech with a nervous system. Since those primordial days, millions upon millions of years ago, humans and octopuses have diverged a lot. Humans went full primate and invented bagels. Octopuses went full tentacle, learned how to disguise themselves as rocks, and developed big squishy brains. We took very different evolutionary paths, and yet here we are, staring at each other through the glass of an aquarium tank, wondering if the other one is thinking the exact same thing. According to Godfrey Smith, this makes octopuses the most complex animals with the least in common with us. That's like two people independently inventing chess in separate galaxies. So, if octopuses are conscious, that means that consciousness has evolved at least twice on Earth. Once in vertebrates like us, and once in cephalopods like them. Two totally different evolutionary experiments with the same result: a thinking creature that feels emotion. Now try watch someone eat octopus without being horrified. Plus, didn't anyone see my octopus teacher? How can you eat octopus after that? The fact that these creatures, who are so different from us, might have their own thoughts and feelings suggests that consciousness isn't a special, unique thing that only we have. It could be a natural result of being a complex living thing. This leads to a wild idea. Maybe consciousness is much more common than we think. Perhaps other animals are also aware of themselves and their world, and we're just too focused on ourselves to notice. For now, the octopus remains our best reminder that intelligence doesn't have to look like us. It can look like something with 3 hearts and 8 arms. What if the world belonged to the octopus? Let's say we finally do it. We push ourselves right off the planetary cliff. Climate collapse, nuclear fireworks, take your dystopian pick. Whatever it is, humanity roasts itself and there is not a single human left on the planet. Now what? Who inherits this flaming sphere of questionable choices? Your first guess might be the apes. After all, there are only a dozen movies about them stealing the world from us. But no, it can't be apes. If we go down, apes are probably going down with us. According to Professor Tim Coulson of Oxford, if the humans were gone, the next masters of Earth would probably be octopuses. He believes that these clever escape artists are the next rulers of the world. Coulson believes that anything that threatens us, like a global catastrophe, is probably going to wipe out our ape cousins too. From a primitive standpoint, humans and monkeys take up the same niche and have the same vulnerabilities. Plus, neither humans nor monkeys are exactly known for surviving underwater. Octopuses, on the other hand, already thrive in extreme conditions. They live in hostile deep-sea vents, coral labyrinths, and sometimes survive Japanese seafood markets. You name it, octopuses have figured it out. Now let's see what Tim Coulson thinks octopuses have that gives them a tentacle up over everyone else. The big reason is that these three-hearted creatures are problem-solving geniuses. They open jars, steal cameras, and rearrange aquarium plumbing for fun. Some have even escaped captivity like it's Ocean's 11 Cephalopod edition. Professor Coulson says they have got the holy grail of evolutionary potential. Because remember that before humans had opposable thumbs, we were little more than fish with monkey tails. Every great species has to start somewhere. And octopus are already ahead of the game with dexterity from their 8 arms, curiosity, and advanced communication skills. Communication is huge because that's how a species becomes a society, by communicating. And octopuses have already been caught using their camouflage ability to speak with color-shifting Morse code through their skin. Humans can't do that, although we do like to yell at each other. But perhaps most important of all, octopuses have a brain structure that Megamind envies, and neuroscientists can't wait to open up. It has everything it needs to evolve into a hyper-intelligent species that could dominate the Earth. Remember, each octopus's limbs can act independently of one another. Can you imagine having 8 arms and each one can work independently? You could text, play Call of Duty, brush your hair, have a snack, and change the remote while still having arms left over, all while not even thinking about the activities that you're doing. Honestly, I'm surprised octopuses haven't taken over the world already. Humans don't even necessarily need to kick the bucket for octopus to build an advanced society. You already know they're building communities underwater now. Professor Coulson suggests that if given enough time, and if humans stop throwing garbage into the sea, octopuses could develop the underwater equivalent of human civilization. Think coral skyscrapers, kelp farming collectives, and maybe even cephalopod universities where the curriculum includes advanced crab disassembly and shell den engineering. Could they evolve to use tools? They already do. Could they form societies? They kind of are. The biggest problem for octopuses is that their lifespans are incredibly short. Most live less than 5 years, which gives them teen anxiety shortly after birth and a midlife crisis only a year later, if they make it that long. Interestingly, science tells us that fast learning and early maturity might actually accelerate evolution. I know it's not real, but just think about the xenomorph. That thing bursts out of you and 3 hours later it's 9 feet tall. Growing rapidly isn't necessarily a disadvantage. The future has tentacles. As of right now, this whole octopus civilization thing is just speculation. Nobody's suggesting you start pledging allegiance to the tentacled republic just yet. Coulson himself admits this is just a thought experiment, not a forecast. But the logic holds strong. Octopus have intelligence, adaptability, mastery of fine motor skills, and a natural grudge against land-walking idiots who've been trashing their oceans for centuries. And the second that humans are gone, there's a very good chance octopuses will inherit the Earth. The next time you visit an aquarium and lock eyes with an octopus looking at you from its tank, just remember you might be looking at the prototype of Earth's next top species. And it's looking back at you too. They're watching, they're learning, and they've got the whole ocean to figure it out. What do you think about this theory? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are the octopuses coming for us? Now let's have some more fun. For decades, sci-fi has warned us to be aware of the tentacled alien. They're cold, calculating, and probably here to harvest our organs. However, scientists don't think aliens will turn out to be creatures with tentacles. They won't be octopuses and fish bowls attached to cyborg bodies. And scientists have some pretty good reasons as to why we won't be invaded by an army of space cuttlefish. So here are the top 5 reasons why there is no galactic octopus empire. I know, it's crazy. Scientists have actually thought about this. Reason 1 being that they have weird blood. The first problem with a real alien octopus is that these animals have a circulatory system problem. Specifically, their system runs on copper-based blood. Octopus have hemocyanin instead of hemoglobin, and while that gives them a certain steampunk charm, it's not great for oxygen efficiency. According to University of Washington scientist Peter Ward, their massive, ultra-wrinkly brains are perpetually starved for air. They are operating at the neurological equivalent of a wheezing jogger on a mountain trail. The octopus brain cannot grow any bigger without the animal suffocating under their own ambition, meaning that if an octopus gets any smarter, it will die from having too big of a brain. That's not ideal for space travel. So why did evolution put copper instead of iron in their blood? Maybe it was the available proteins. Maybe it was just blind luck. Either way, copper was fine when they were sedentary little sea snails 500 million years ago, but now that they've evolved into clever, high-strung problem solvers with a flair for drama and zero patience, copper just isn't cutting it. And it must be frustrating. Their brains are already massive by invertebrate standards with roughly 500 million neurons. Even so, they're running on an oxygen budget that would make a Victorian child coal miner gasp. They've hit the physiological ceiling for brilliance, which is both scientifically fascinating and emotionally devastating. They are brilliant, but tragically underfueled. If octopus could just get a little more oxygen, their brains could get bigger, and they might learn how to pilot a spaceship. Eternal youth. I already told you that the octopus lifespan is insultingly short. Most octopuses don't make it past 3 years on this planet. Some species die right after reproducing. Peter Ward compares them to 2-year-old humans. They are curious, clever, full of potential, but short-lived. They display intelligence that rivals that of other animals who live for upwards of 100 years. But the octopus are gone in under 5. Intelligence isn't enough. You need time, you need mentorship, you need to not die of old age before you've figured out how a door works. If octopuses lived 60 years, you and I would likely be having a very different conversation right now. If they had 60 years to hone their intelligence, we might be the ones doing tricks in aquariums. But they don't. So here on Earth, we've got a species with all the raw cognitive horsepower to do great things, but they perish before they are old enough to walk to school by themselves. No friends and no future. Let's say an octopus did live longer. Could it still build a civilization on a planet without humans? Scientist Peter Godfrey Smith puts it bluntly. Civilization requires culture, and culture requires a cohesive community. Humans hardly pull it off. We are constantly fighting, and octopuses are just as bad. They are aggressively antisocial. Remember Atlantis? Even the octopuses who formed the first octo city off the coast of Australia were constantly fighting, kicking each other out of their homes, and generally being kind of a jerk. Study after study has shown definitive proof that octopuses do not like working together. They don't teach each other either. Their social structure is basically, if I can't eat you, I'll ignore you. If I can't eat you, I probably will. The members of spacefaring civilizations don't eat each other. They just don't. And so this little feature of the octopus doesn't really bode well for team-building exercises, let alone ones in space. But to continue with the scenario of Cthulhu taking over the world, I haven't even touched on the real problem yet. Even if they were social, long-lived, and oxygen-rich, octopuses still have one glaring problem. Can you guess what it is? That's right, they live underwater. And you know what doesn't work underwater? Fire, smelting, circuit boards, anything with combustion or coffee machines. Peter Ward said no fire, no metals, no spaceships. You can't build an observatory out of seashells. And unfortunately, being good at opening jars doesn't scale into launching satellites. A civilization needs tools, and tools need metallurgy, and metallurgy needs dry land. It's the same reason that even if mermaids existed, they'd be no more than primitive fish with human bodies. Where's a mermaid gonna get a sword, or an anvil, or a semiconductor? Maybe they could build tools out of rocks and coral, but an industrial revolution? Forget about it. So unless an octopus evolves anti-scuba gear to breathe on land and build a forge, their greatest inventions will likely remain confined to reconfiguring rocks and sneaking out of tanks. Don't get me wrong, octopuses, octopi, octopodes, whatever you want to call them, they are some of the most intelligent animals on the planet, and their genes are so bizarre that they really are like biological aliens compared to other life on Earth. But a civilization of octopuses traveling the stars? Sorry guys, it's unlikely. But not to worry, there could still be octopuses out in the universe somewhere. In fact, it's even probable that somewhere on another planet, possibly a water world orbiting some distant star, there is a kingdom of octopus. They might rule a planet even bigger than Earth, but there's an almost 0% chance of them making it out of the water. And that's where the fantasy, although really fun, starts to fall apart. Yes, octopus could build a mighty undersea empire, but to build a spaceship out of coral and fly to Earth is pretty unlikely. Not impossible, but improbable. In the end, the octopus is a reminder that intelligence doesn't guarantee destiny. Sometimes nature creates a genius and then buries it beneath 500 million years of solitude, short lifespans, and suction cups. So maybe the real tragedy isn't that we'll never meet spacefaring octopus aliens. The real tragedy is that we already have octopuses here on Earth, and people still don't fully appreciate the strange, beautiful minds floating in the deep. If we vanished and one species of animal rose up to dominate the world, would you vote for the octopus? Or would you rather a different animal become guardians of the Earth? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching! Be sure to share any other octopus stories you have in the comments below, and let me know if you'd like another video like this one. See you next time. Bye!